Welcome class 12. We are back again with part 3 of chapter Thinkers, Beliefs and Buildings. In this part 3 of the video, we are going to learn about major Buddhist sites, why they were considered so important. Then we will find out the difference between stupas, chaityas and viharas. We will also learn that why were stupas built, who gave donations to build stupas. Meanwhile, we will also find out that what happened with Amravati and how Amravati did not meet the same fate as Sachi Stupa. Major Buddhist sites. So here I have marked some sites in political map of India. There are many such sites given in page number 95 of chapter number 4 in class 12 NCERT. But from those many sites, I have chosen only 9 because these 9 are mentioned in the CBSE syllabus of maps. So first we'll start with Lumbini. Lumbini, we all know, birthplace of Buddha, situated in Nepal in the foothills of Himalayas. Moving on towards Shravasti. Shravasti is in UP and it is closely associated with the life of Gautam Buddha, who is believed to have spent 24 Chaturmases here. Chaturmases means the time from July to October. Actually, the Indian annual rainy season is called the Chaturmases. Basically, from July to October, it also holds some religious importance. As you will see, the Chaturmas starts from the Shaini Ekadashi and then ending on to the Prabodhini Ekadashi in the Kartik Mas. Prabodhini Ekadashi comes. Then we will move towards Bodh Gaya, where he attained enlightenment. And then we have Sachi, Bharhut and Amravati, these three locations where the King Ashoka ordered stupas to be built. In these stupas, the relics of Lord Buddha are preserved. Moving on forward towards Nagarjuna Konda, it is actually named after Nagarjuna, who was a famous disciple of Buddha, and he followed Mahayana. So this particular site here, you will be finding the sculptures which are from the Mahayana tradition of Buddhism. Moving on towards Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, we have Ajanta caves. Here we find paintings depicting life of Buddha, and these paintings also depict Jataka tales. You will also find that Ajanta caves were used as viharas where the monks and nuns used to take shelter during the rainy season. Then Nasik, which is famous for rock-cut caves, and these caves reflect Hinayana Buddhism. And in these caves, most of them are viharas except one that is actually a chaitya, that is prayer hall. Stupas, chaityas and viharas. We need to find the meaning of these three terms. Stupas are generally the places which are used to venerate relics of Buddha. We have few examples like Amravati Stupa, Sanchi Stupa, etc. Chaityas, these were shrines or prayer halls. Sometimes they were equipped with a stupa, and later, even in contemporary times, we use the term temples for these chaityas only. One of the most prominent example of chaityas is Karla Caves, which is situated nearby Lonavala in Maharashtra. Then we move towards viharas, which were actually the places where Buddhist monks and nuns live. Actually, the Buddhist monks and nuns used to wander from one place to another through the whole year, but only during the rainy seasons they required a shelter to live in, and at that point of time, viharas were used. So, famous examples of viharas are Nasik Caves and Ajanta Caves, both of them in Maharashtra. Why were stupas built? The tradition of erecting stupas may have been pre-Buddhist, but they came to be associated with Buddhism. Since they contain relics of Buddha regarded as sacred, the entire stupa came to be venerated as an emblem of both the Buddha and Buddhism. According to a Buddhist text, Ashokavadana, Ashoka distributed the portions of Buddha's relics to every important town and ordered the construction of stupas over them. By the 2nd century BCE, a number of stupas, including those at Bharhut, Sanchi, and Sarnath, had been built. So here we have already seen the stupas in the map section, or we have seen the stupas of Bharhut, Sanchi, and Amravati. Donations to stupas. So there were various social groups who came forward to give donations to stupas. Some donations were made by kings such as the Satavahanas. We have one example. Others were made by guilds such as the ivory workers who financed part of one of the gateways at Sanchi. Hundreds of donations were made by women and men who mentioned their names, place, occupations, and names of their relatives as well. These informations were generally provided through votive inscriptions. Bhikkhus and bhikkhunis also contributed towards building these monuments. The structure of the stupa. The stupa originated as a simple semicircular mound of earth, later called anda. Above the anda was the harmika, a balcony-like structure that represented the abode of the gods, as you can see through the picture which is given here. Arising from the harmika was a mast called the yashti, often surmounted by a chhatri or umbrella. Around the mound was a railing separating the sacred space from the secular world, and just around this railing the space was known as Pradakshina Pathas. The early stupas at Sanchi and Bharhut were plain except for stone railings, which resembled a bamboo or wooden fence, and the gateways were richly carved and installed at the four cardinal points. The Amravati Stupa. It is actually situated in the Guntur district of Andhra Pradesh, nearby the Krishna River. So in 1796, a local Raja stumbled upon the ruins of the stupa at Amravati. And in 1797, Colin Mackenzie, a British official, visited the site. He completed his studies, but unfortunately, his studies could not be published. Later, in the year 1854, Walter Elliot, the Commissioner of Guntur, Andhra Pradesh, visited Amravati and collected several sculpture panels and took them away to Madras. These sculpture panels were later called as Elliot marbles. He also discovered the remains of the Western Gateway and concluded that the structure at Amravati was one of the largest and most magnificent Buddhist stupas ever built, as it is said to be the Maha Chaitya. By the 1850s, some of the slabs from Amravati had begun to be taken to different places, to the Asiatic Society of Bengal at Calcutta, to the India office in Madras, and some even to London. Even the sculpture panels of the stupas were kept in the gardens of the British officials just as the decorative pieces. The fate of Amravati. So when the sculptural panels of Amravati stupas were being taken away and were being used as decorative pieces, there was a person whose name was H. Cole. He was an archaeologist who started advocating for in situ preservation of Amravati stupa and Sanchi stupa. In situ preservation, like he was asking that the sculptures or the archaeological finds should be preserved in their natural habitat from where they have been found out. But this was not being followed in the case of Amravati Stupa. Unfortunately, Cole did not succeed in convincing the authorities about Amravati Stupa, although in situ preservation was adopted in case of Sachi. Amravati was discovered before scholars understood the value of the finds and realized how critical it was to preserve things where they had been found instead of removing them from the site. So, in the case of Sachi Stupa, we saw that how the Shah Jahan Begum managed to give the plaster cast copies to the European people, and she did not allow to take the original gateway to be brought with the Europeans into their own country to be kept in the museum. So this is how the fate of Amravati. Amravati could not survive, and the grandeur of Amravati actually vanished. But we can see in the case of Sachi Stupa, the Sachi Stupa still stands properly because it has been maintained properly.